There's a recurring focus on the trajectory in which one's going. Let's bring in some lyrics from a number of the songs that kind of support this theme. Find myself older, made without direction. There's a concern about, and this is in a song where Sam wrote the lyrics.
Sam wrote that one, yeah.
So this seems to be across different songwriters too.
Yeah.
There's this concern about being without direction in that song, and then still in that song, I'll let you choose one to associate, and if I touch bottom, then such is my fate. Here there's an awareness of going in a particular direction, like a choice has been made and one is committed to a particular path or pattern, and this is going to play out as it plays out. And then in some songs that you've written, like Howling, I get the feeling there's no turning back. That's that same theme, like I'm committed to this pattern or this path.
Or like, yeah, you're like caught in something, like, this is just the way, like there's the only way to go is forward, and I'm on this path, and
right.
You know, it's like being caught
being
in a stream or something.
Yeah. And there's something empowering about that awareness. And I was talking before the interview about I like the plot twists in many of your songs. And I feel like often with those plot twists, like in the final verse, often there'll be a pivot. And I feel like sometimes what's happening is there's this radical taking ownership of the thing that seems to be fated in the beginning. So like, I'm the loser magnet, I'm here we are. Over the course of the loser magnet song, here is a bunch more, there's an army of losers that are being magnetically drawn to me. And then there's this radical ownership of that story that allows a moving through and a fun new ending. Could you reflect a little bit on those two kind of big ideas, really? The two big ideas being that the radical ownership of the story enabling a shift to happen in a couple of cases at the end of the song, and how that might relate to this idea of being stuck going in one direction and it's seeming fated, and being aware of that being the case.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is like therapy. I guess I've like never put that necessarily together in that way, but
Do you think it is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's like Ed was talking about how like our songwriting processes are like a little bit different, and mine, everything just kind of comes to me. Like I'm just sitting there and it's like I have to finish, you know, like this is a song, it's just happening. Like, you know, like we were at practice the other day and I wrote that Wisconsin song, and it was just like, oh, I'm just writing the song now. And I think that it's kind of like my brain maybe working through things. Like I think it is like yeah, this is what's happening, and like I have to acknowledge everything that's happening, and that like this is where I'm at before I can figure out a way out of it.
Yep.
And I mean, it might just be a song, or I mean, it might be something a little deeper than that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just like this has to have a resolution, and you want everything to have a happy ending. Everything should be a loser magnet ending.
I think I interpret a lot of it as not being the person who's written these songs, like kind of what I read into it, and kind of what, you know, you've put a light on a little bit, is just the idea of being in a band. That it's you're kind of jumping on a train, so to speak, and that train's going somewhere, and now there's a team of people that's going on this trip together.
There's some momentum.
So in a sense, it's you know, there's no turning back. You know, this is what we're doing as a group, and if you were alone, you might have felt moments of hesitation where you feel like you can jump off. And in a sense, if you have those moments of hesitation when you're part of an ensemble that puts forth the best music that we can and has lofty aspirations, that's the track you're on.
Right.
You know, and
the self-doubt has less traction in that context. Perhaps the self-doubt, you know, the individual member of the band might feel it, but the collective exists and is driving forward. Self-doubt, I think there's a lyric about self-doubt.
Yeah,
is there
we have,
not?
we have a lot of like lyrics, I think, about doubting yourself and
Which
every
song is
breath I
that in?
take. There's 2 tears. Every breath I take
Yeah.
is laced with doubt. And then there's another song that we do. I think it's a newer one though. I don't think it's in there. But we have another newer song that I can't think of. Man, I feel like we just recorded last night, and I can remember singing. Oh, there's "Eat Your Heart Out." I have no doubt. That's a different one though. That's a different context. So yeah, but like 2 tears. You know, every step I take, every breath I take.
Every breath I take is laced with doubt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a crutch. You make me blush. Is that it? Did I do it right?
That's right.
I'm also, there are times as Nej is our lead singer, and I sing where I can. I'm not the best singer, but you know, there are times you need a little something extra, and I have been guilty of misinterpreting lyrics many times. Not misinterpreting, just mishearing.
And then also
And,
singing
then I'll
it.
sing it, and I'll be like,
Singing
oh,
your
that
version.
line is so awesome. And she's like, Ed, that's not the line.
Yeah. What is it? It's a Quantum Creep. We have this line. There's 4 songs. There's 4 lines in the song, and is it "Where are you from?" No, "Where are you really from?" And the line is it both or just one? But what did you think it was?
I thought it was, is it more than just one? I was like, oh, that's so cool. And she's
Eddie-
like, that's,
He kept
Ed,
coming up
that's
to me.
not it.
Yeah. After like every practice, he'd be like, "Is it more than just one?" And finally, I was like, "Ed, you know that's not the line, right?" Like, I thought you were
No.
messing. I always think you guys are messing with me when you're doing that. I think you're like teasing me, like, "Oh, that's the line." I'm like, "That's not it." And I just like, I'm like, "Okay," and I don't say anything. I don't correct them. And like,
Let
so
them have
they'll-
their fun.
I was,
Yeah.
I was
Joke
really
that they like.
stoked about a part of it. I love your music, Nej. I get excited about it. I'm never throwing jabs. It's just admiration that you give me an opportunity to play these songs that have these phrases or these moments that I can really latch onto and grab onto. And I just think like, you know, I write songs too, not for this band, but then I hear her songs and like just hear her process, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't have put together something like that in that way, and I find that really invigorating.
Absolutely, yeah. We were just referencing the song 2 Tears, and something that I find very exciting about that one is that it has a whole comic
yeah.
that goes with it. And much like with the music video or with the residency, taking the music and then having this whole other related art project, something really interesting is going on there with the, going back to the metaphor of adding color, here this whole other collection of images is obviously juxtaposed with the lyrics in the song.
Yeah.
So this is Dallas's comic, and I'll intersperse aspects of the comic into our conversation right now, along with the song as well. How did this comic come to be? Was it something that Dallas wanted to do, or was Dallas commissioned to do it? And who is Dallas?
Okay, so Dallas is one of our good friends. He is in Ghost Kitchen, and he used to be in Young Yeller. Young Yeller was one of the bands we've probably played with the most, even, like to this day. I think they've been retired for a few months now, but I love Young Yeller. They were so fun to play with, and we play with Ghost Kitchen all the time now too, and they're really fun to play with. And Dallas is a fantastic musician, and he is also a fantastic comic book artist. And you can follow him on Instagram. He's like The End Comics, and he was doing a really cool series with Young Yeller where he actually started publishing like issues of it. It was really cool, and he had all of these themed comics, and everyone in the band had their own character, and he had this idea that he was going to start doing comics for different bands around the Twin Cities. And so he asked me if it was like, he was like, "Hey, is it okay if I do this?" And I was like, "Absolutely, that's like the coolest thing." And he sent it to me, and I was just over the moon. I think it's one of the coolest things that's ever been done with something that I've written. So
It's very cool, isn't it?
yeah, it was really awesome.
So here are some of the pages from the comic. The telephone shows up a few times.
Yeah, Dallas just has such a defined style as well, which I really appreciate in an artist. The fact that I can look at a single, picture of one of his drawings and just immediately know that he was the one who did it.
Yeah, he definitely has a
The
distinctive style.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once Dallas had proposed this idea, did Dallas then request, let's say, your perspective on the song, or ask for? Okay, so it was just completely in Dallas's hands.
Dallas had seen us perform so many, like, because we played together so much, like Young Yeller, and like we would go out to their shows and they would come out to our shows, even if we weren't playing together. So we were around each other a lot. We heard each other's songs a lot, and I just think, like, that was one of the first songs we wrote, and we like opened a lot of sets with it, and I think it was one of the first songs that we ever just played really well. Like, we've definitely grown as a band during the 2 years we've been playing together, but that song is just like, I mean, I would almost say that we probably played it better when we first started playing it than we do now. And like, we play it tighter now, but that song had so much emotion, especially when we started, just because it was like, we're finally playing shows again, and that song is just like the anthem of, coming out of living alone and being so alone for so long, and it's been an empty year. It was just this catharsis of being able to play it, and I think he understood the emotion. I think he understood what I was going for, and I think it was for me. He might have actually asked me some things, and I think if I know that if anyone did ask me that, I would just be more open to hearing your interpretation of it. Like, I'm usually more inclined to hear what someone thinks my lyrics are about than to tell them what my lyrics are actually about. Like,
Yeah.
I take way more joy in hearing
It meaning something to someone, even if they're mishearing it. And they
Yeah,
think it's super cool.
exactly. Or like, I want to know what Ed thought I looked like. Like, what did you think I meant? Because, I mean, like, I've had some really great experiences of people being like, I feel like you wrote the song about me, like the way that you wrote that. And like, I remember at one point, like, my sister being like, telling me that she had listened to one of my songs, and like, we're far enough apart that she never really experienced like living with me and me writing music. Like, we haven't really lived together since I was 7 years old. So this was like,
She's an older sister.
yeah, she's older than me, and my sister Laura. And I remember one time she was just like, I've kind of been going through something, and she told me like, sometimes I feel like you wrote the song about me. Like, it feels so true. And I'm like,
even though you didn't know all the details.
Yeah,
but it was so relatable.
Yeah, and it's like, and I feel like that song is so specific to what I was going through, and it's like, and that's not the only time I've heard that. Like, that was probably the most meaningful time someone told me that, but I've had other people tell me like, I really feel like this song is just, I can relate to it so much, and like, so I don't know, I would love to see someone interpret it in their own way, and so I was just so ecstatic, and I had no idea what to expect when he asked me, and I couldn't be happier. It was just really cool that someone did that.
You were saying when you first were performing this song, there was a lot of like raw, authentic emotion. I mean, there is still now. When I've witnessed you perform the song recently, there's still that. And the emotional trajectory, we begin by shedding 2 tears for every sad sack that ever broke my heart. So, isolated, reflecting on difficult experiences, having been the loser magnet.
Yeah. And it's like I need to be over this now, It's like, I don't know, have you ever just sat and felt sorry for yourself, and like,
Yes.
and you just think about like, oh, well, this happened and this, and it's like, I don't even care about this stuff anymore. I'm just using this as an excuse to be like, my life is so hard, and it's kind of like, stop doing that.
And so we, at the very beginning of the song, I shed 2 tears, and then by the end, I feel the shred. The shedding tears becomes feeling a shred of cheer.
Yeah.
So that strikes me as crucial for the song, that we begin catching ourselves, feeling sorry for ourselves, and we allow ourselves to be with that and work through that. We go on the journey of the song, and by the end, we're still crying.
Yeah.
But in this shedding of tears, there is a shred of cheer. How does that shred of cheer come about?
I mean,
over
you
the course-
can. I think for me, the idea was like that. It's like you get to the end, and it's. I feel a shred of cheer. I shed 2 tears. It's like you can cry over joy. You can cry
Absolutely.
over anything. You can cry over like you're finally out of this phase of like, just being so frustrated all the time, or, feeling like you're not enough. I think is a huge part of where a lot of and we have a new song called Enough, and I feel like kind of struggling with like my place in the world and where I fit, and like how I can be happy and how I can make sure I'm not hurting other people. Or there's a lot of themes that come in, like a lot of, maybe not themes that come into it, but like the reasoning and the inspiration behind everything. And yeah, I think that song was it's just that progress. It's that, it's been an empty year. It's been an awful year. And then finally you feel that shred of cheer. And that's any reason to cry as much as, being empty or.
Yes. Yeah, I think obviously in my experience, to be able to find oneself in the position of feeling a shred of cheer and experiencing joy, like there can't be the resistance of the sadness.
Yeah.
And the emotions are kind of like a package deal, and allowing oneself to feel one's feelings and work through, and not be not wish oneself beyond and through, not put too much pressure on oneself.
Yeah.
To get beyond self-pity.
Yeah, and loneliness. I
loneliness,
think.
yeah.
I think like another thing that I don't think it's picked up on as much, but a lot of times now that I'm thinking of it, it's like everything is kind of like I'm alone, like howling 2 tears. Like it's all about being alone until and then that last verse is like, come and sit on my couch. I need a little human interaction. Like sometimes I think things will come off as being more sexual than they mean to be, and it's more like I shut myself off, when I get depressed or when I'm not feeling great. I want to be alone, and it's that kind of finally like, all right, I'm ready for people again. Like I'm here.
The being with all the different forms of intimacy, like emotional intimacy, being with, and we are embodied creatures, and we've experienced a long period of time where we couldn't. For the health of one another, there were obviously reasons to not be in the physical presence of others, but as embodied creatures, we have our somatic experience, and going to shows, making music together, being responsive to the rhythm of music, like all of that is crucial for us being the creatures that we are.
Yeah.
And these songs grapple with that, I think.
Yeah.
Something that I am just amazed at as I play with Nej and as I play with other songwriters that perform as well, is it to be a composer of music or a writer of songs does take quite a lot of time with yourself and with your own thoughts, and being maybe in more introverted spaces, and then the duality of having to perform that, in a sense, like here I am, the focal point for 200 people, and I'm singing these very personal feelings that I have
that have come about through being with myself.
Yeah, and just her ability to do that, and the ability of a number of other songwriters I play with as well, I just see as remarkable, because I'm a super extroverted person, and I love being on stages.
And I'm not.
And you're not. And I just, it's when you tell me about like, my hands are shaking, we're about to get on stage,
and I'm like,
or like that, and I'm just like, I can't relate to that at all. And
but you like bringing art into being, and the experience of sharing that with the rest of the band and with the audience, perhaps becomes a part of it.
Yeah. I've always I played alone for a long time, and when I started Shadow Party, I wanted to be the drummer, and I tried to be the drummer, and they were like, "You're not good enough, and you have the most songs written, so you have to sing." And before you were in the band, no one heard me sing. No one in the band heard me sing because I was so shy and I was so scared until our first show, and then and even to this day, I'm take me out of the monitors. If I can hear myself singing, I'll get really quiet. Like when we were recording last night, he took my live track out when I was recording, and he just left the reverb on.
Right.
So I can make sure that I'm in pitch, but I don't want to hear myself sing because I get really quiet. I get really shy, and I always try to make sure he has a microphone because I'm really bad at bantering in between songs. I'm just what am I supposed to say to people? Tell them what do I say? I just stand there awkwardly, and I'm I have to tune. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so that's when I get to riff or whatever.
It's a yin and yang thing in our band, that's for sure.
But she is an excellent singer. I mean, we were recording last night at their house, just bedroom style, and just to hear her. I mean, she's got the full mix in her headphones, and Joe and I and Elijah are out in the other room, and you can just kind of hear her, and just I mean, not everybody can sing. It's we think that oh yeah, I've seen American Idol or whatever, everyone can generally do that. It's to really sing well is a talent that Nej has.
Are these, are you making demos at the moment of the new songs, or are you recording the record?
We're recording the record, but I am, really shy, and so when we were where can we record the vocals? The guy Elijah who we're working with was I can come to your house if that's easier for you. And I was cool. So they came to my house and we set up last night, and I laid down a few guitar things I needed to fix that were easy because I'm a rhythm player, so nothing needs to be too precise. And then I just set up in my right next to my bed, and they were kind of we have our bedroom, and then there's a little living room next to it. So they were all out in the living room, and then I was just in the bedroom by myself, trying not to think about the fact that everyone can hear me without the music. It's just my voice, and it's it's kind of terrifying to think about.
It's all we're doing is listening.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just listening to Nej to make sure that it's good.
Yeah, I know. It's we're just listening to me without any of the parts that blend in and make it make sense.
Right.
Without any treatment on the voice, just the bare voice. Yeah.
There's no Simon Cowells in our band though, so it's good.
No. I guess if I would probably be the Simon. I think I'm the most negative in the band.
I am the Simon,
You're
but I'm not
actual-
negative. It's funny.
The anti-Simon,
Yeah.
Nega Simon.
Yeah.
I just like paying attention to things and saying, that's cool. Good job, everyone.
Nice. Oh.
It's like in Loser Magnet too, in the final verse with the barbaric Barbies.
Yeah. That line was almost not that line. I think I had an option, and I gave the band between two lines. I don't remember what the other one was, but they chose Barbaric Barbies. And that line has really taken off for it. People really enjoy that line.
Yeah,
and I didn't expect it. So.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That and it's the same, the recurring formal feature of the narrative trajectory of the songs. Again, it's okay. Well, Loser Magnet is such an interesting one because it's a story about the person who is the loser magnet, and sometimes it's told from the perspective of that person. But in the second verse, there's a moment of kind of stepping back, and the loser magnet is telling a story about the loser magnet.
Yeah.
In the third person.
You're kind of making fun of yourself.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. It's therapeutic. Something interesting is going on here in being able to step back and tell the story about the character that is oneself.
Yeah.
And by virtue of doing that, something shifts. So that second verse, the loser magnet sits at home crying. That doesn't solve nothing. So I go walking. And just being able to have the self-awareness to be with, okay, this is what the loser magnet, haha, I'm calling myself the loser magnet, is doing. And then to recognize, okay, that isn't working. So then I try something different. And then we're in a new scene. And this movement forward has happened. That's very interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the idea of like, you know, you can like I can like, are you always a loser magnet? That's kind of a weird thing to do, like the loser magnet. So I go, you know, the idea of separating like the loser magnet. Like, am I always a loser magnet, or am I
Right.
being a loser magnet right now?
Right, and
So I
then-
need to get up and do something. You
Right, and you
know?
get up and do something, and well, I kind of am the loser magnet. Here's the army of losers
Yeah.
being magnetized.
Yeah.
There's the evidence to support
And
the
it's
idea.
also like, you know, the first steps are always the hardest. It's like that doesn't solve anything. So I go out and I do something and it's still there. Like the problem is still persisting. Like it's
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna sit here and like the first step I take, the problem's gonna go away. It's more of a like, no, you have to keep trying. Like you have to like fight your battles sometimes. It's not
Yes.
just like you can't just sit there and they'll go away, or like it'll pass and then everything will be fine. You know, it's
So this is the kind of the radical ownership thing.
Yeah.
Again, by they thought they had me. It's very similar to Cinnamon Sugarman, where he thinks he has the other character, but plot twist: the loser army. They thought they had me, the loser army, but here comes my party, the barbaric Barbies.
yeah.
It's fun and whimsical, but this feature just keeps on showing up, where not resisting being the loser magnet, but allowing the story of what it means to be the loser magnet to evolve.
Yeah, I mean,
Happens in this very succinct way.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's like really reflective of my life is like, you know, there's been a lot of times I've been ashamed of something or not necessarily liked who I am or wish that I was someone else. You know, I think everyone can kind of relate to that. Like, you know, like, oh, I wish I weren't like this. I wish that this wasn't a part of my past. I wish that this weren't a part of my story, but
But
it
I was
is.
beyond this already.
Yeah. And it's like it is, you know, and you gotta just this is me. Like, all right, I've done some dumb things. I've been a loser magnet before. I've made some dumb choices, but
Yeah.
you know, it's all about what you're doing with it, how you're getting over it. And
Yeah, and loving yourself through it and for it.
yeah.
And then something like this metaphorical recognition that, you know, my party is coming.
Yeah.
now. And it's analogous to, like, now here you are with the band.
Yeah.
There's the sense of belonging. There's the sense of collaborating and doing the thing. There's no turning back now in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, like the barbaric Barbies line was definitely intended to be like the band.
Mhm.